coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, the devil. The devil.
The power of the dark side.
Hey guys, welcome to Flix and Comix. JoJo here. So today I am excited to announce that I am launching this new series on my channel for you film fanatics out there, and it is called DVD Diaries, guys. I know that, not too many people are so into DVDs anymore, but it's not really necessarily about DVDs, more so about movies from the past that we'll be reviewing now and my thoughts on those things, and I would love to hear your thoughts on those down in the comments and we'll get to talking. But yeah, I thought this would be an awesome thing to add to this channel, being that as of late with the pandemic and everything, just there aren't as many movies coming out, and this gives me a chance to continue pumping out movie content, because I haven't been doing as many reactions or reviews for movies as of late. So yeah, hopefully this can kind of fill that void a little bit until movies come back in full swing. If I'm being honest, I feel like this segment will be more for my own personal enjoyment than anything, but I am curious to see how this all goes over with you guys. Hopefully y'all can have fun with me, but let's get into it. Let's check out the first movie that was on the DVD queue on Netflix. And no, I am not sponsored, but this is how we're gonna be doing it. I do still have my subscription to the Netflix DVDs. I get them all the time. And here we go. This is the one that I just watched. We're gonna take it out of the envelope, old school. And first up, we got Possession. And this was released in 2008. It's an hour and 26 runtime, PG-13. It says, happily married Jessica deals with the fallout of a terrible tragedy when her husband and his brother both wind up in comas after a car accident. Even worse, when the brother awakens, he's convinced he's Jessica's husband. Bum, bum, bum. Here is the look of the DVD right here. Kind of dark, kind of gloomy. Gives you an idea of what you're about to watch. So yeah, let's get right on into it. So right off the bat, there's a discrepancy here. On the Netflix DVD envelope, it said that the movie was released in 2008, but upon further research, I found out that it was actually released in 2009. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, just good to know, right? So the movie Possession was directed by Joel Bergvall and Simon Sanquist. It went straight to DVD, and it was actually a remake of a South Korean movie called Addicted, which I had no clue going into it. So it was kind of cool, finding that out. So right off the bat, you start sensing these horror vibes, which is no surprise. I mean, after the synopsis I read you and, the look of the DVD, what you're in for. It's called Possession. So yeah, you're kind of expecting that supernatural vibe. So this movie starring Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Jess, who's the main character. She's a lawyer, and she was happily married to a guy named Ryan, who's played by Michael Landis. And in the movie, he has a brother named Roman, and Roman is played by Lee Pace. So you got the two brothers, right? And they're basically just yin and yang. You got Ryan on the one hand, who's just a stand-up guy. He's a great husband to Jess and, just a caring person all around. And then on the other hand, you got Roman, who is a screw-up, who treats his lady like trash, and he was accused for aggravated assault and had Jess represent him in his case. So that's technically how she met Ryan, her husband. So she met Ryan through the brother Roman. Although Jess and Ryan don't have a perfect relationship, it's pretty solid still. Ryan is a lot more affectionate, whereas Jess is a little more emotionally unavailable, a little less affectionate. She's the one that forgot the anniversary, not him. He's the one that writes her little cute notes and gets her nice cute necklace. And she's just a little cold, it seems like. But nevertheless, they do a pretty good job with showing how much they care for each other. Now, that kind of feels like it gets disrupted as soon as Roman comes into the picture. And this is weird Because all of a sudden there's this like sexual tension between Jess and Roman when Ryan isn't looking. Now, as much as Jess pulls away from that and tries to deny it, like it's clearly there, and it's just a little weird because you don't know where it's coming from at first. It's also just weird for obvious reasons, like the fact that he's her brother-in-law and he seems to have this crush on her. And also, I mean, she represented him in his case where, you know, he was accused of aggravated assault. So, ugh. Then there's those awkward scenes where Roman's just watching Ryan and Jess be intimate. Just super creepy. And it's at that point when you realize just how obsessed he is with her. And it's just sickening because he is also with this other girl who kind of looks like her too. I mean, nobody looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar, but you know, you could definitely tell they tried to cast someone that had a similar look to Sarah Michelle Gellar, just kind of to re-emphasize the fact that he was so obsessed with her. And yeah, Roman treated her like garbage the whole time, and it was really hard to even find any kind of redeeming quality for Roman at that point. He's scum, right? Like everything about him. Roman is also living with Jess and Ryan at the time. It seems like he goes back and forth from their house to his girlfriend's place, but all his stuff is at Jess and Ryan's place. So Roman overhears, you know, Jess and Ryan kind of arguing about the fact that Roman is in the house and Jess is kind of tired of having him around. So Roman takes his stuff, leaves in a hurry. Ryan finds out how distressed he is and that he just vanished. And, you know, the guy's on parole, so that's not good. The brother's worried. So Ryan puts the pedal to the metal, goes out, and drives off to try to find Roman, who is currently on the bridge, driving down the bridge. They, I guess, crash into each other. This is the inciting incident. It's a quick thing. It's foggy, and there's just a giant accident on the bridge. And this is the part where you have to really have a willing suspension of disbelief. Because, I mean, logically, I don't know. I feel like realistically, it's very unlikely that Ryan would ever get into the same accident that Roman got into. Especially because it seemed like, you know, Roman left much earlier than Ryan. So, like, I guess it's because they were going in the opposite direction. I don't know, but they both got onto this foggy bridge and crashed into each other. So next thing you know, they're laid out on the floor, paramedics, you know, trying to revive them. And at this point, you start seeing a lot of like those CGI horror effects come into play. That quick editing that, you know, we see a lot, you know, especially like in The Ring or something. And you realize something paranormal is happening at this moment, right? So both the brothers are dying and they both get revived at the same time. And also their blood puddles are about to touch. And that's pretty creepy looking too. So moving on, they're both in comas, right? And this is where it gets very Freaky Friday because one of the brothers, Roman, wakes up and Ryan stays in the coma. And he is basically claiming that he is Ryan, that Ryan's soul has possessed him. How does Jess feel about all this, right? She hates Roman, even though they have some weird sexual tension going on. And at first, like any other sane person, she didn't believe him because obviously it's so far-fetched, he's a criminal, and he had a big old crush on her. So of course he's gonna wanna be his brother. So before we continue, this is a good place for me to kind of let you know what my main issue was with this movie. So the first full act, they really try to emphasize that this is a horror movie through and through. You got the supernatural elements that they're constantly kind of throwing at you. You got the look of the movie, the color palette, the music, editing style, even the storyline with that like mysterious things aren't what they seem to be here, and even down to the actual crash that happened and the possession, right? Like that all felt very supernatural. So my issue with this is that it's not consistent throughout the movie. So later on, we realize that, oh hey, this guy is not possessed. He's actually just a freak and a sociopath. And he has a big old crush on this girl and really wants her. And his brother's in a coma. So he's taking advantage. She gets pregnant with Roman's kid. Anyways, it's beside the point. It's kind of weird that they would call the movie Possession, right? Because it's just a giant red herring, and I don't know if I like that. Later in the movie, it does feel like more of a Lifetime movie than like a typical horror movie. So it's like they weren't sure which direction to take this in, so they decided to do both, and it just didn't work out. Because you had, you know, the supernatural elements, and then you had like the sociopath killer type of mystery movie, right? Because he did end up killing his girlfriend. I mean, they never really showed it, but you can assume because she just went missing and then they found her dead. So yeah, like it was just this weird mix of the two. And then occasionally, once you thought like, oh, this dude is just a straight up crazy nut job, then they would sprinkle in these like supernatural sequences where he had this like weird connection with the brother while the brother was in the coma. So it was like, you know, at one point he was like he felt a pain in his chest, and then it just cut to the brother in the coma who I think he was having some kind of seizure or something like that. So they had that connection. So then that would make you kind of second guess it again. Another big issue I had with the movie was the ending. The whole sequence of events that happened towards the end was just laughable. You know, because before that it was at least like, okay, I can somewhat be entertained by this ridiculous Freaky Friday nonsense. But as soon as it got to the ending, I was like, all right, they really messed it up here, because Jess finds all these like notes and stuff. She just had this chest full of keepsakes from their past, and she realized that this is where Roman had, you know, gotten a hold of all that information, because, you know, Jess questioned him several times and he always knew like the right answers and stuff. And she also found the real necklace. I'm not even gonna get super into that, but it was just further evidence that he was lying. And yeah, so that's how Roman got found out. And then you realize like, okay, if he's just straight up lying, why are we being misled this whole time that with this possession kind of storyline? Like what was that all about? If he was lying the whole time, it's not possession. And then all that other stuff, all those, you know, weird creepy scenes where he was connected to his brother are just, you know, irrelevant. So yeah, I got a little frustrated with that. But then it gets worse. So Ryan's still alive. He's in his coma. And Jess just killed Roman. Like just straight up stabbed him. They had one of those typical murder mystery thriller endings where they have a big face-off. Jess and Roman were just, you know, kind of going at it, and she stabs him, and she's basically a final girl. And then she goes to visit her hubby who's in a coma. So she's leaving the hospital, right? And she decides to put her necklace on as she's leaving. And, you know, she's kind of struggling, and out of nowhere, a pair of hands just comes up. And you don't see who it is. You just see the hands, and they're like glowing. They're like heavenly, you know, they have this like ethereal kind of like look to them. And they just, you know, help her out. And she's like, oh. And when she turns around, no one's there. And I mean, you can assume that it's Ryan, But that's it. And she's just like, huh. And then that's it. That's the end. And I'm just like, what is happening here? I'm telling you guys, they couldn't decide whether to keep it just Roman being a sociopath or, you know, the supernatural aspect, even though it makes absolute zero sense that it would be supernatural. But for some reason, they had to just keep that as a part of the movie. It just left you with so many questions and confusion. Like, did he die? Did he not? Does he have supernatural powers of some kind? You know, what is happening and why is she just cool with that? Like, I don't know. It's just everywhere, tonally as well. I did feel very dissatisfied with that ending, to the point where, as I was doing research, I saw that there was an alternate ending. So I ran downstairs, popped the DVD back in, and sure enough, I saw the alternate ending that was half an hour long. And I gotta say that overall, I think the alternate ending is better than the ending that they gave us in the theatrical cut. So basically, in the alternate ending, it isn't as supernatural heavy. You know, actually not at all. They kind of removed all those weird, like, supernatural quick cut sequences that they were, you know, adding to the theatrical cut. And you know, the part where I was telling you guys where Roman, like, winces in pain because there's a, I guess his chest hurts or something, and turns out that Roman was going through a seizure at the time. That part didn't even happen in the alternate ending. He goes like that, but he's just joking, and he just wanted to get a reaction out of Jess and was just kidding around. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. So no supernatural element there. And then you fast forward to the ending, and in this one, Jess, okay, this is where it gets crazy too. Ryan actually dies in the alternate ending. And then, so you just have Roman and Jess together, and she does find out in the same way that she did in the theatrical cut that he's lying this whole time. But this is the weird part. She goes to confront him, and he is in the shed showing her the crib that he's making for the soon-to-be baby. And, you know, Jess is like giving him this strange look, like she's in shock, like she doesn't know what to say. And she's being very transparent and obvious, right? And then he finally, you could tell he's like, are you okay? What's going on? Tell me. And she's just like, oh, what are you working on? Like, she avoids the question and changes the subject. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm working on this crib. It's coming along well, and I'm really working on it, and I like it. And at that point, I think he knows that she knows. And that was kind of more of a like, I got a good thing going on here. I'm liking it. I'm liking the new me. Do you like it? So he asks her, do you like it? Referring to the crib, but actually referring to himself, right? And she goes, like, she takes a pause, and then she has a necklace in her hand too. The fake one, I think. And then she puts it in her pocket, and she's like, yeah, I like it. And she gives him a huge hug. So this sociopath that's been lying to her this whole time gets the girl. Oh my god. It's hysterical, guys, that alternate ending. Both endings were pretty ridiculous, but I do kind of understand why they didn't end up going with the original ending, just because that one, I mean, it's just so creepy, and morally wrong on so many levels. Also, just, I don't know, the fact that she's a lawyer and she's ending up with this sociopath who was lying to her this whole time and potentially killed someone. Like, what are you smoking, lady? Like, I know you're pregnant, but damn. Like, I mean, there are other fish in the sea, you know what I mean? You know, with the other ending, they tried to tack on all of the like supernatural elements, and that's really what jumbled things up. With this, there was a logical reasoning for everything. Even though it was absurd, it was still logical. I'm gonna give this movie a C flat. It was pretty entertaining. I did get a laugh out of it, especially discovering that alternate ending. I got a kick out of it. And as much as both endings sucked, I think it's just hilarious to talk about. And yeah, overall, I think all the acting was pretty good. When Roman was acting like an ass, and then he woke up from the coma and was all of a sudden this like charming guy posing as his brother. That was pretty cool to see. Yeah, I had no problems with the acting. Sarah Michelle Gellar rocks as usual. Yeah, but everything else was kind of a shit show. Also, side note, William B. Davis, who's a smoking man in X-Files, was in it for a scene, and they could have utilized him way more, and they didn't. So I'm really upset about that. But he rocked it as usual too. So yeah, guys, see it is. That's all I got for you. If you like this video, give me a like or subscribe or both. You could also catch me on Instagram or on Twitter at Flix and Comix, and I guess I'll catch you over there.